y muchas gracias por este tiempo. Quería honrar a mi hermano Rodolfo. Muchas gracias y una feliz noche.
In the last years of his life, Alexander Parra was a man most known to carry the banner of peace. Even after 3 decades fighting as a member of the leftist guerrilla group Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, at his eulogy, there was only talk of forgiveness and reconciliation.
Con él hablábamos, y aún más dentro del proceso de paz. No admitimos en el corazón rencores o odios, sino el lazo que nos encierre a todos con valentía para luchar por nosotros mismos y los demás. Que la paz no es que se haga, hay que hacerla.
When Alexander Parra entered the FARC in the early 1980s, his brother, Héctor Alirio Parra, had always believed his end would come violently.
Porque yo, por ejemplo, pensaba mucho, en cualquier momento le dicen a uno, lo mataron, o está preso.
When the FARC guerrilla group signed a peace agreement with the Colombian government to end more than 50 years of armed conflict, Héctor Alirio says his brother was ready to start a new chapter away from the war.
Porque siempre fuimos conscientes de que habiendo paz se hacen las cosas. En la guerra no hay sino miseria. Entonces ya cuando se viene el anuncio de la vigilia por la paz, era como abrir la ventana a eso, con siempre dificultades eso, pero cuadro el conjunto y nos vamos.
On October 24th, 2019, Alexander Parra's role in peace building was cut short. He was killed by masked gunmen inside a demobilization zone. According to forensics experts, he received 6 shots in the back, and details of the firearm used were given to the Prosecutor General's office, who is conducting the investigation. Members of the FARC party believe his death was an act of political violence. His soon-to-be wife, Luz Marina Giraldo, was running for local October elections. A former combatant herself, Giraldo has lived through cycles of violence firsthand. Her father was killed in front of her family when she was only 5 years old. Now, violence took the man she was set to marry in 2 months' time.
Mi esposo decía, la paz nace del alma, porque si nosotros no perdonamos a los que nos ofenden, seguimos en este círculo vicioso de odios y asesinatos, y sigo odiando y sigo asesinando. Paremos, por favor, ya este derramamiento de sangre en este país que ya se merece una oportunidad de paz, una oportunidad de que sean los hijos quienes entierren a sus padres, no al contrario.
According to the United Nations, since the signing of the peace agreement in 2016 until November 2019, 165 former combatants have been killed. Parra was the first to be murdered in one of the country's 24 transition zones, which is protected by Colombia's military. Colombia's prosecutor's office is in charge of investigating the deaths. By June of 2019, 50% of the murders committed up until then had been solved. Authorities said 38% of the deaths were at the hands of criminal groups, including ELN and FARC dissidents who had not joined the peace agreement. The prosecutor's office says in some cases they were killed for refusing to go back to criminal activities.
Hay que reiterar que lo dijimos y lo seguimos diciendo, hay que reiterarlo, de que sabíamos que esto no iba a ser fácil, que esto nos iba a costar muy duro, que sabíamos y lo estamos viviendo que hay un sector de la clase dirigente que no nos quiere dejar a los colombianos que transitemos por los caminos de la reconciliación y de la paz.
FARC head Rodrigo Londoño, known by his war name Timochenko, attended Parra's funeral. He recalls how Parra, at the mere age of 16, was part of the security team for the FARC's main leader, Manuel Marulanda.
Además, Rodolfo pues era un gran combatiente, en la guerra era un buen, incluso alcanzó a ser jefe militar en las unidades de Marulanda. Y a pesar de eso, a pesar de todo el tiempo que estuve involucrado en la guerra, cuando hicimos el acuerdo, fue uno de los que abrazó con mucho entusiasmo y con mucho optimismo.
In 2018, the majority of Colombians voted Iván Duque into the Colombian presidency. His right-winged government opposed many aspects of the peace deal. Duque voiced wanting tougher punishment of former rebel fighters who committed war crimes. FARC members questioned the president's commitment towards their successful reintegration. On April 22, 2019, the death of former rebel fighter Dimar Torres at the hand of Colombian soldiers brought more scrutiny. As members of the military got caught in cover-ups, the president came out to voice his support of human rights.
Y también con los lineamientos que he entregado de cero tolerancia con cualquier acto violatorio de la Constitución o la ley, o inclusive con cualquier acto que deshonre el uniforme, que hemos prestado toda esta colaboración, frente a la cual le he pedido al señor fiscal y al señor ministro de Defensa que cuenten hallazgos detrás de esa situación y que también anuncien unas medidas que serán adoptadas para que se llegue al fondo de la verdad y que se haga la justicia que corresponda.
The investigation led to the conviction of a soldier found guilty of planning and murdering Dimar Torres. The soldier was tried and given a 20-year sentence. The colonel who ordered the killing is awaiting trial. United Nations human rights experts have urged fair and impartial investigation and prosecutions of acts of violence.
Que ha comenzado la segunda Marquetalia.
But in August of 2019, former FARC peace negotiator Iván Márquez declared he would rearm in a new phase of the armed struggle. In a video, he appeared surrounded by 20 other men and women in army fatigue. He called for a return to arms because he claims the Colombian government had betrayed the peace agreement. Among the list of grievances were the continual deaths of former rebel fighters. Timochenko and the FARC political party has repeatedly condemned rearmament and have reiterated their commitment to continue in politics and peace. However, in an interview with CGTN, Timochenko expressed concern over the deaths and said the response until then from Duque's government is not enough.
Es una respuesta muy pusilánime y que de verdad que no muestra ningún compromiso, incluso de insinuar que a muchos los están matando que porque andan en cosas ilícitas. Entonces habría que preguntarle, señor presidente, entonces ¿se instaura la pena de muerte en Colombia porque alguien de pronto está haciendo algo ilegal?
The FARC political party says more than 90% of their former combatants continue on their path to reintegration despite difficulties. Among safety concerns, there are also challenges in creating sustainable economic projects. In the Meta transition zone, Alexander Parra led development projects and guided fellow former combatants in the construction of their new lives. Those who knew him, like his friend Farid Odolfo Cabana Mejia, says many went to him for advice and guidance, as he was almost a father figure.
Y mucho, sí la está afectando mucho porque dentro del espacio, como era la cabeza visible, el que en una reunión para cualquier cosa, él era el que estaba pendiente de todo, el que hacía, como le decía anteriormente, hacía las propuestas, las iniciativas, las sugerencias, el que estaba que si necesitaba una ayuda un compañero, él estaba ahí, el guía.
In September of 2019, months before Alexander Parra's death, Duque's government passed Decree 1629 that addressed the issue of security in transition zones. According to government officials, the measure would guarantee 2,500 soldiers will stay in the transition and reintegration zones, providing security.
Uno de los retos mayores es temas de seguridad.
Carlos Ruiz Massieu, Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations for Colombia, says the verification mission is still assessing the measures taken by the government to provide security for former combatants.
It's absolutely paramount. It's absolutely paramount, the security and the safety of the ex-combatants, and as well as the security in the communities affected by conflict. I think, I believe the UN has been very, very clear in the concern that we have expressed and the expectation that we have that the situation will improve the sooner rather than the later. And that, again, is the UN, but it's also the Security Council of the United Nations that have made these calls, have expressed overall concern. And we have to ensure and improve the security and safety of the ex-combatants as a first step, and as well as the communities going forward.
The UN mission is in Colombia to accompany the government and FARC in the post-conflict, verifying both sides' commitment in the implementation and reintegration. According to the verification mission, the biggest challenge is for the state to be present in the regions with security, health, and education services, especially in areas where they were absent for so long. Through their visits in the field, Massieu says they see a continued commitment on the side of FARC combatants.
Certainly they see also challenges, that they express their own concerns, whether that's for security, whether that's for the need of more acceleration in the income-generating activities, in the productive projects. But still, the commitment is there. They've been expressing themselves in those terms, and that's what gives us a lot of confidence that the process will be successful at the end.
La paz nace del alma. ¿Y saben por qué Rodolfo decía eso? Porque le pregunté por qué lo decía. Es simple, porque el alma es lo único que es eterno.
At Parra's funeral, attendees were a mix of men and women who have lived war at its closest level, as family of combatants, as perpetrators of violence themselves, and in the end, as victims. All of them listening to a woman who, despite her grief, believes forgiveness is the only way to peace.
Por eso hoy perdono a quien le hizo esto a mi esposo. ¿Acaso no fue el pueblo colombiano el que un día dijo no más guerra? Es una semilla de paz.